My name's Jodi Frawley. I'm one of the co-coordinators for the Mariculture's Environmental Research Node of the Sydney Environment Institute. Our event, the Marine and Maritime Research Festival, is the first of our events for this particular node in the Institute, and we had a day that we called Episodes and Imaginings. On that particular day, we had a range of speakers looking at literary and artistic representations of the ocean and of the sea. Sea stories in a way, but told in a whole range of different sorts of formats. We've had wonderful visitors from America, Margaret Cohen from Stanford University.
It was, quote, to watch the flowing of the tide which a fine southeasterly breeze was bringing in with all the grandeur which so flat a shore admitted. They praised the morning, gloried in the sea, sympathized in the delight of the fresh-feeling breeze, and were silent.
And Jonathan Lamb from Vanderbilt, who talked to us about the literary imagination and the way that authors of all different kinds have evoked different ideas about the ocean and about being on the ocean in the 17th and 18th century.
The spirits are exhilarated by the taste itself, and the juice is swallowed with emotions of the most voluptuous luxury.
We had some wonderful artists talk to us about the different sorts of art installations, and quite unusual for an academic conference, we had the Clarion Fracture Zone come and talk to us about the musical interpretations of the ocean. Following Wednesday, we came up to Sydney University yesterday, and we have had 2 days on the changing coastlines. Partly this has been generated around the issues of climate change and how we have to adapt and change to the sorts of situations we're going to be dealing with as the coastline changes with climate. We believe that these sorts of ideas will be really important in the way that climate change is dealt with by communities as we go forward in the next century. Today we've been looking a little bit more in depth about the changing coastline by bringing people together around the theme of shifting baselines. This morning we have had Paul Holm, who was the director of the History of Marine Animal Populations project, which ran between 2000 and 2011. Developing that theme, we've then gone on to look at history and the coast as a way of understanding that there are many different ways to do history. There's not just one way to do history that may contribute to the changing coastline and helping people to understand the changes that have been and the way that we might move forward into the future. We've just had a keynote lecture by Alastair Hobday about climate change modelling and the scientific data analysis.
Every single projection says it's going to be at least 2 degrees hotter. There's actually no uncertainty. Everyone agrees with that. 50% of them think it's going to be at least 4 degrees hotter, 50% of the models.
But really importantly, Alastair and this community as a whole also wants to emphasise that adaptation will be something that we will need desperately in the next 50 to 100 years. How we might use the sort of scientific data analysis that Alastair was talking to us about this morning, and how that can be help local communities, businesses, people truly on the ground or in the intertidal zones or working in the ocean, how we can help people as a community of researchers to make these adaptation changes and for our future. And we have a very esteemed visitor from Peru here this afternoon, Patricia Maljouf, who's going to talk to us about anchovies and a debate that she was involved with in a public education campaign that took the science of species loss of anchovies to the public and changed people's perceptions about the sort of fish that should be eaten and the sort of ideas that we can bring together around those things.
We had the first anchovy week in 2006, 18,000 people tried anchovies for the first time.
The key messages for us over the last 3 days is about the depth of research across a whole range of different sorts of disciplines. People bring different methodologies, different approaches, different ways of thinking about these changes. We have all sorts of pieces that we might be able to put together in certain kinds of puzzles and ways of putting things together. We may have had pictures in the past, the way we might have thought those puzzles should go together, but we need to realign all those pieces and put them back into new pictures, new ways of thinking about our oceans, about our estuaries, about our tidal areas, and about our coastlines, because that's where, in Australia in particular, that's where we live.